how much of her body did you guys get back?
We obviously, whatever was in the house, yes.
And how much of it were you able to pull out of the pipes?
Quite a bit.
They're like, you're stupid. I'm like, you kidding me? That's an awesome way.
Yeah.
I just got greedy, that's all.
Most chilling moments on Interrogation Raw. An 18-year-old girl named Rory Hush was taken to the hospital due to mental issues, but from there, things took an unexpected turn. A plumber calls with this gruesome detail.
Communications.
I'm a plumber and I'm on site for a job. We're snaking a drain. We've been pulling back, we probably pulled back about 10 pounds, 15 pounds of it looks like flesh type of stuff. And we don't know what it is.
The contents of the drainage were traced to a man named Adam Strong's apartment, where he was caught. Strong told the cops to look into his fridge, and no doubt, the outcome was devastating.
Rory had a distinct tattoo. She had the word alive tattooed on her neck. And when they looked through the freezer, they found a human head, and there was a tattoo. I knew right then, yeah, it's Rory.
Although they had the man, the cops still had the big issue of
what the cause of death was.
After an unsuccessful first interview, the officers returned to his apartment. Soon, the investigators discovered a knife that told a more sinister story.
We received the results back. That knife contained the DNA of a second female.
Everything unraveled in the second interview after this question.
Okay, how much of her body did you guys get back? Obviously the entire skeletal structure.
Well, we obviously, whatever was in the house.
Yes, in the freezer.
Yes.
And how much of it were you able to pull out of the pipes?
Quite a bit. It was bad luck.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. They're like, you're stupid. I'm like, you kidding me? That's an awesome way.
Yeah.
I just got greedy, that's all.
In November 2008, a fatal accident was reported.
911, what's your emergency?
The truck fell on my stepson.
Although Levi's death was initially ruled an accident, a phone call changed all that. The call prompted the cops to take a look at what happened 17 days before Levi's death.
Carl takes Levi up to a bank and he takes out a life insurance policy on Levi.
This further prompted them to reach back to the time Christina died. As it turns out, before his wife died, she too had an insurance policy worth
a $150,000 life insurance policy on her at the time of her death.
The first interrogation sees Carl Carlson give a story of his son's death.
So then we left, come back a little after 4, and went out there and found him.
What do you mean you found him?
I found him dead.
Later, matters got so stifled that the detectives had to resort to deceptive tactics.
There's a big problem.
Now, we already knew there was no concrete time of death.
Tom came up with this concept that through medical technology, we were able to tell exactly what time he died, and we knew what time Carl had left.
If you're telling us the truth and saying you had a conversation with him, you're lying. He was either dead when you walked in there or as you walked out. That's fact.
And with a well-placed helping hand, the truth is drawn out of him.
I opened the truck door.
Okay.
When they did it. And if I'd hit the box underneath it, it wouldn't have happened.
He comes out with his final version that he caused the truck to fall on his son and then basically walked out and left him dying on the floor.
Around 8 p.m. on Sunday, January the 11th, 2015, a young man with gunshot wounds was left to die in Pescola, Florida. A witness called it in.
Okay, do you know if anyone's been hit?
Get an ambulance here, now!
The young man, Joseph Edward Ross, eventually died in the hospital. On arriving at the crime scene, officials soon get lucky.
And shortly thereafter, they observed a red Dodge pickup truck pull into the parking lot.
The cops later paid a visit to Joseph's brother, John Ross.
Okay, your brother Joe was shot and killed around the corner.
He was shot?
Yes. We're trying to find out what happened to him. Do you know anybody that drives like a red Dodge pickup truck?
Oh, my friend Nick does.
Who's Nick?
It's just someone that I met through a friend, and he always hangs out with black.
Do you know the black male's name?
I think it's Gerald.
What else do you know about Nick?
He normally carries a 38 or a 9mm.
Has he ever gotten into it with your brother before?
They argue about a lot of stupid stuff. Nick's really, he seems like he's crazy. I wouldn't really want to mess with him.
After questioning John Russ, and doing some research, the gruesome picture was getting clearer. The cops then brought in Nick Nearing for questioning. This is what he had to say about his night.
I was at home for the longest time.
Is there any reason that your truck would have been at the CVS around the corner tonight?
No, it shouldn't have been.
Then how was it there?
I don't know.
After a while, the detective decided to employ some deceptive tactics.
But you were there.
I wasn't there. How do you know that?
Video cameras?
Did you see me in my vehicle?
You're kind of distinct. At that point, I didn't have video of this shooting, but he's nodding because now he believes it.
The monster eventually comes out.
Does lying help you? Lying will do me Stop it. Why did you do what you did? But the truth.
Yes.
Motherfucker's a okay? That's straight up honesty. Motherfucker's a he deserved it. He reached for nothing. I shot the motherfucker's face. He made a noise. I shot the no mine. That's it.
His true face comes out.
This episode features a cold case involving teenage lovebirds Tim and Kelly. They both attended a local wedding ceremony at the Concord House, but never made it back home. Panic begins to set in as Tim's father tries to find his son.
We called Kelly's mom and said, did they stay there? She said no.
Soon the cops get involved. An investigation begins, and useful information followed.
One witness specifically recalled the van taking off sort of in a suspicious fashion, in a quick way.
Some 6 days later, evidence that helped explain the tragedy that had happened began to surface.
A teenager on his tractor had seen something as he was driving that caught his eye, a pair of pants, just like Kelly had been wearing on the night that she disappeared.
Eventually, Tim's decayed body was found, followed by Kelly's. After closing the case for about 2 decades, a 2006 DNA sample and phone call reopened it.
It immediately became my #1 goal to solve this case.
A sick Edwards sets out to beat the system again, but is handicapped by technology.
When I asked him to provide a sample of his DNA so that we could test it, he said that he had no problem doing that. After 29 years, he's thinking, what DNA are we going to have? How are we going to prove this? Turns out it's a match.
Backed by the results of the DNA samples, the detective throws him this question.
Hour or two of the interview, we asked him if he could explain the seminal fluid DNA being on Kelly's clothes.
All right, I had sex with her.
You had sex with the young lady who died?
Yes.
Consensual?
With me? Yes. Oh, yes.
Without a confession, the cops didn't really have anything until they rewatched the video of the interrogation.
And after listening to it repeatedly and having many others listen to it, everyone agreed that what he said is,
damn, I killed her.
On the 27th of June 2018, a devastating report about a Virginia hospital came to light.
The facility had reviewed multiple instances and had identified inpatients who had suffered severe low blood sugar, all of which had passed away shortly thereafter.
A day later, the FBI had gotten involved and research was in full swing.
Within a day of opening their investigation, they contacted the local FBI office and we got involved.
Through time cards, work schedules, and other records, that helped narrow down the possible list of subjects or suspects that could be involved in the case.
While interrogating one of the suspects, Miss Rita Mays, she was asked that,
You ever administer insulin to patients?
No.
Not at all?
No. Aids are not to give any type of meds.
Soon, jail call recordings between the suspect and her inmate husband surfaced.
Night. Was it? Oh, yes.
4 hours into the second interview, Miss Rita becomes defensive.
You can see she's hunched her shoulders and drawn her arms across her body as pretty defensive. So to me, I think she was panicking a little bit.
After the interrogation, the nurse decides she needs to read a book titled,
I'm Dead, Now What? Indicating that she's having potentially some suicidal thoughts. Why? Because she's just been told she is the prime suspect in all of these cases.
Although there was no verbal confession, her texts eventually revealed her sinister acts.
Rita would talk with other staff members on Facebook Messenger, and they would be discussing patients and what was going on the ward. So she was following up to see, essentially, did they live or did they die?